Hello and welcome back to Eastenders Weekly, your weekly podcast, all about Inside Number 9.
Oh, that surprised me. I thought you were going to say Sabrina.
Oh, it's Halloween, isn't it?
Yeah.
All about Sabrina. The Chilling Adventures of.
Oh, not the original.
Not the teenage.
Oh, I like the Chilling Adventures, but it's not a patch on the original.
Magical.
It's not a patch on the original series. It has no Salem or proper Salem the cat.
But we're not here to talk about that really. We're here to talk only about EastEnders.
I keep forgetting about that.
So we are talking about episodes from the 29th of October to the 2nd of November, although it all takes place on one night.
My name's Alex, by the way.
Yes, and I'm Ben.
And we host this every week for your pleasure and entertainment.
Now, we haven't had a week like this on EastEnders since Christmas a few years ago, when Christmas Day lasted about 5 weeks.
It lasted up until New Year's Eve, and then all of a sudden they jumped forward 7 days. Yeah.
When Stacey had her episode on top of the roof of the Vic.
Oh, God. And who died?
No one died.
Abby Branning died.
No, that wasn't the same time.
Yes, but that's what you're heading towards,
it wasn't.
Wasn't it? Yes,
I was talking about how she was on top of the Vic roof, and it was Christmas Day for like
Max
4
joined
weeks.
her, and then Brannings and all that.
Stacey nearly jumped off, didn't she, with a baby in her hands?
Actually, this wasn't that Christmas. That was the Christmas before.
I know. I said just now a few years ago. So keep up.
I'm sorry. Everything happens on the Queen Vic roof. It's like every Halloween, everything happens at the Queen Vic normally, but not so much this year.
Tracy was running the bar by herself.
She was, quite aptly probably as well.
So we are going to start with, this week is an issue for me, but we're going to start somewhere. So we're going to start with Martin's storyline.
Oh, what a storyline. It's not just Martin's storyline, it's also Martin and the continued Ruby storyline.
Yeah, Ruby.
Yeah, but it starts off quite happy and jolly because Martin's forgotten to buy enough pumpkins for Halloween. And so it gets a bit of
the most hated man on the market.
Yeah, everyone's angry, and Ian's not very pleased either because obviously this is Ian's empire that's being crumbled underneath him. But if you watch the episode, you can quite clearly see there's a full box of pumpkins behind him on the market stall. So I don't know what he's been telling people. Oh, can I have one of those pumpkins? No,
maybe they were small, so they weren't very good.
Maybe. No, they weren't small though. They were quite big. But that's what I mean. Did he tell people that they weren't pumpkins?
Surely people would rather go to the Minute Mart.
Well, the Minute Mart weren't selling pumpkins either. They were selling sweets.
People should be mad at Yolandi then. And Honey.
Yolandi has no control of stock. She's just the managing director. That's down to the stock control.
Well, nor does Martin. Surely it's down to Ian then.
No. He runs that store on
so
his
Ian
own.
just takes the money.
Yeah, he's the manager. So he's like the Yolandi of the Minute Mart, and Martin is the stock controller, the sales assistant, the bank, the bookkeeper. Martin does all the work. And
do you think Stacey does the books?
I doubt it very much.
No,
she's
doesn't help.
Well,
just takes the money.
All she's good for is getting drunk and then waking up in the morning and getting the kids ready for school. Apparently, that's all she's good for now. She moaned about being a housewife all those years ago, and she's just gone straight back into that role quite nicely, hasn't she? Slotted herself back in. But Martin has been offered an opportunity to go to E20 for a Halloween party there with Robbie and Jay.
God,
the likely lads of the square.
What a night out that would be.
And Martin is more keen to having a night in with Stacey because all the Slaters are out the house, going to the said Halloween party at E20. But Stacey's like, well, we wouldn't have the house to ourselves. Who's back?
Another guest in the house.
Another guest.
It's like the new B&B. Slater should move into the B&B, really.
Yeah.
And just kick Patrick out. But yeah, Ruby's staying.
Ruby's back. Ruby's back. And Ruby's trying to encourage Martin to have a night out because he doesn't really want to. He doesn't feel like it's very fitting going out anymore.
Yeah, because and Stacey gets mad at Martin because he's annoyed that Ruby's staying, but Stacey didn't actually tell him. So I don't know why Stacey's mad at Martin over this. It's a bit strange to me. She's
mad at Martin because I
thought she stormed out of the cafe and left him and Ruby talking to each other in the cab.
Yeah, she did leave him, but I genuinely can't remember what she was mad about. What does she have to be mad about?
That's what I mean. It doesn't make any sense. Because he says, oh, I wanted a quiet night in. Now you've invited Ruby. And then suddenly she's mad at Martin. It's like, Stacey, you have invited another person into his house.
Well, I don't know if Stacey had invited her either. I think Ruby just turned up and said, oh. Because last week Ruby wanted to stay away from the square. And this week she can't get enough of the square. And all she wants to do is sit in the Vic and open her... Because she says that later as well. When she tries to convince Martin to go out, she says to... Martin's like, oh, I don't think Stacey will be in the mood for doing anything with you either. And she said, oh, once we've opened up the bolle, everything will be much different in her eyes. So again, the answer to it is drinking. Is it Ruby?
That's what Ruby does.
I
also want to make a note of her awful jacket that she wore all week, the blue one with the tassels on it.
She reminded me of a stick of rock that you get down in Blackpool. She had that white blue striped shirt. Is that
like
the one
a
you're talking about?
toothpaste? Yeah,
like a striped.
No, the
toothpaste.
actual it's like a suede blue jacket, and it had like tassels on the sleeves.
Oh right,
it was awful. It really
she's a
me.
cowgirl.
Yeah, it was worse than Beck's brown one that Bex used to wear.
Oh, I remember Bex. She used to wear that when she used to carry around her guitar case.
Yeah, and her high-waisted jeans.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't like Ruby's jacket. Don't like Ruby.
I mean, I think Ruby could turn up in a beautiful long ball gown and you'd still say, I don't like it.
Oh, she is annoying. When she's out, because she goes out with Stacey and convinces Martin to go with Robbie, and they go to the Vic and they're like talking about their nights out, and she's like, oh, nights out aren't any fun anymore. I hate being a victim. I want to be a predator. And it's like, it's a really weird line. So what are they saying? That what Ruby wants to what?
But I think she just feels like that
be a strong woman.
But she said that with other women, they're able to, if a man approaches them and is acting a bit forceful toward them, they know how to turn around and say no. Let's stop. While Ruby sees it as a challenge, and so she prefers to not. She sees herself as not being the prey if she can stand up to these men and almost show herself to be on an equal keel to them.
It's so silly though, because on that night in E20 when they were all clubbing, she was like the most confident woman in the world.
For school reunion.
Yeah, so she was going up to all the guys and being confident, and getting drinks bought for her. So she's not confident.
But that's what she's saying is her problem.
She's not confident.
Yeah, she's not saying that she's got her problem is that she's not got confidence. She's saying her problem is that she's got too much of it.
And then when Stacey was at her police report, she was like, Ruby's really shy.
We discussed that in a couple of episodes
I just
ago,
hate Ruby. She's just annoying.
But she
doesn't stick to anything.
To be fair, that's not Ruby's fault that she
is annoying.
No, that she is a confident woman, but she puts herself across as being this kind of coy girl. That's just her act, and that's what she doesn't like about herself. So Ruby's kind of
I don't know. I don't buy it.
Well,
because she was like lifting up her dress and showing her like thigh tattoo off, and it's like, well, you're not that coy.
Yeah, but that's it. She's almost showing overconfidence to compensate for the confidence she doesn't have. She's
stupid. It's
in the pub.
Awful.
Well, in the pub, she was deconstructing herself and tearing herself apart with all the things she doesn't like about herself. But she says that she puts up this smoke screen where she wants to be the one who's seen as the confident predator, and she'd prefer that. And even Stacey says, "Oh, I'd like that too." So Stacey says, "Well, I tried to put on that persona too." But Stacey knows when to say no. Stacey knows when to stop, when to tell a man that he's going too far. But yes, unless it's Max.
Then well.
But if it's Max, then it all fares that in that game. So while they're having
that's enough about Ruby
conversation, yes,
I hate her.
'Cause that's all that happens with them, really. They then go back and drink a bottle of red and watch a scary movie. So Martin's at E20, and he's not really very happy about the way that Robbie and
the lads
Jay ogling over the women, scoring them out of 10.
And Robbie's like taking photos of people's bums with see-through dresses on, which is really creepy.
Yeah, and Martin makes him delete them.
So obviously, like, Martin's like worried about, because he knows what happened to Ruby, so he's very conscious about how men are portrayed at the moment.
Yeah,
I
mean, Martin's always been quite a modern man, I suppose. Apart from his views of like maybe the woman, is meant to pop out babies and something else. But when it comes to like equal rights, I think he's never been backwards with that. He's always been one for women are equal to men. And
Robbie has no malicious. He's just stupid.
Right? Yes, Robbie is just stupid. I don't think he's stupid. I think Robbie's just horny.
Dim.
No, he's just horny. He just needs his balls cut. He needs to be castrated.
Got with that cougar last week. He should be all right.
Yeah, but that's why. Yeah, but he strikes out, as Jay said, he strikes out 99% of 100, and so he's basically doing. If he does it 100 times, at least one woman's going to. He does do a lot though on the night. He has a drink thrown at him, and he kind of flirts with a woman, and she says no. But bless him, he tries his best, and his dance moves were quite elegant as well. When you were watching him swinging his arms about like a peacock on the dance floor.
I mean, he didn't rate Beck's very high though from behind.
Well, this is going back to what they were scoring girls, weren't they? And they were giving them scores out of 10. I mean, yes, but you say that, but then only a couple of weeks prior, Robbie was being rated by Tiff and Bernie. So really, is there any
he
difference?
enjoyed it.
Well, he did enjoy it because they gave him a 10. But was it any different, really? Do the writers remember that they actually had 2 girls sitting on the bench?
I don't think the writers
rating
remembered
men?
anything this week. Because...
But they have to be careful with stuff like that, because if they're saying, oh, these men are in the club, oogling over these women, and it's wrong that they're rating these women out of 10, and Martin takes offence to it, especially when the woman that they're marking tends up being his daughter Beck's. You have to remember, 2 weeks ago, is it then wrong that the 2 girls were doing...
over Ray as well.
Yeah, they were
Kim
doing
and Honey were sitting there trying to see how handsome he
They were doing exactly the same thing. So that was a bit of a naughty, forgetful moment by the writers, I think. But yeah, so Bex turns round and Martin looks a bit shocked. Shocked that his legal 18-year-old daughter is in a nightclub having a good time
I know.
with her friends.
And it is Halloween. It's like the one night where you're allowed to dress like a slut and get away with it.
Well, no, it's not. Again,
yes, it is.
if we're going to pull ourselves out of the programme for a second, Halloween is not about dressing up in the sluttiest gear and then having a streak of blood. Everyone does. I don't.
And let me finish my point about Bex.
Go on.
But Bex's outfit wasn't even that bad, is what I was going to say.
Oh no, her outfit was perfectly fine.
She had white mascara on.
Well, she had
scary.
She had a mask like she had a mask that looked like a bat, didn't she? Kind of motif over her eyes.
Yes.
And she was just wearing a short skirt. That was all. But then this is where the big debate came. So Martin was angry at Rebecca because he felt that she was basically putting her up.
Asking for it, to coin to not be able to coin a better phrase. She's deliberately provoking and being provocative to men so that they would zone in on her. Even though the ones rating her were the 3 men.
Well, were them and her own father. So, but because Martin did that though, he realised that obviously other men are going to do that to his own daughter. So he's now very worried that hang on. I've got a daughter, and this could happen to the same that's happened to Ruby. And there is this big
Even
debate.
though he doesn't believe Ruby, but does he believe Ruby?
No, I think he does believe Ruby, because at the end he says he says to Ruby, he says, you were right. Right at the very end, he says to Ruby, you were right. And Ruby just kind of blinks.
I am.
Yeah, blinks and goes, yes, thank you. But the big question is, and it's a question that's old as time, is that...
what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Also true. If a woman dresses provocatively, is a man more likely to want to have intentions to abuse or rape her, or is a man got the intent already inside of him?
That's why it's silly when people say that, because it's not about sexual fancying someone, it's about power. So it's nothing to do with what they're wearing. Absolutely.
But that's what a lot of
Martin
people,
is
Martin and a lot of people, men and women, misconcede.
Yes.
And they think that if you're dressing like that, then really it's your own fault for provoking it and pushing, poking the lion in the cage.
I guess the other underlying story of this, what Martin's going through, isn't just about what happened to Ruby. It's also sort of accepting that his daughter, his little girl, isn't his little girl anymore as well, which Dot has a little word with him, which I thought was a nice scene.
Well, it's nice that Dot's come back and actually had some
and
use.
it was awake.
Well, yes. Well, when they were having that argument in the kitchen, I turned to you and I said, they're going to wake up Dot.
Yeah, and she came in through the front door dressed up.
But she was out.
Yeah, bingo.
Was that what she was?
Don't know. I'm why not? Halloween bingo.
Gambling.
With an orange dabber.
Oh, I love those dabbers. They're fantastic.
Orange for Halloween.
Yeah. Better than a pencil or pen, because you can tear the paper whilst they shout their numbers.
But she came in, she was dressed up, she was out all night. That was loving it after a 6-month break.
And she probably misses having Fat Boy come home and, drunk, half cut. More on that later if you listen to our feature.
Lovely Arthur. But yeah, she had some nice words of wisdom saying to Martin, like, oh, it's your daughter, she's growing up, you just have to let it go. But he carried on drinking, didn't he? Which I think wasn't a good move.
That wasn't great, yeah. And so Dot gives him a few coffees and caffeine drinks to kind of calm him down a little bit. I love in Eastenders how people are able, although there is an exception to the rule, again we'll be talking about later, but whenever they've had far too much to drink and they're shouting and they're abusing and just going mad, they just sit down and have a cup of tea and they sober up like in an instant. It's like I envy for anyone who can sober up from having a night out that quickly.
Obviously Dot's got that magical touch,
but it can't have been that late at night either if you think about it, because then he went home after he sobered up, had this argument with Bex, talked to Dot, then went back home, and Sonia and
they
were watching the film.
Stacey and Ruby were watching a film. Yeah,
Stacey and I keep saying Sonia. I don't know why. I miss Sonia this week. Where was Sonia?
I know, Sonia was missing. She could have been there to help Bex or stare at Martin or something, or dressed up like a slut.
Well, Sonia would have taken Beck's side.
Exactly, so it would have been nicer.
Do you reckon Sonia had one of those black ghost costumes and was just floating around the square?
Oh yeah, maybe. One of the extras.
Getting sweets posted through a letterbox to her.
Sonia could have been used as part of the Hayley storyline as well. Midwife. She could have helped.
No, but they already had a midwife. There's someone on the square who's given birth to 2 children already.
That's true.
More on that later. So basically, Martin says to Ruby, as I said earlier, that she was correct. She was right. And Martin sends Bex a comforting text, just basically wishing her a safe,
in all capitals as well. She's shouting at her still.
Yeah. Come home safe.
Let me know now. Yeah. I hated all the storylines this week, but
well, no, I know you did. You
well, not all of them. One of them I liked, but yeah, I don't like the Robbie. I thought Martin was being overly horrible. Ruby's annoying.
Yeah, Jay was just like as always.
Jay's
Jay
just an
was
extra part.
Yeah, Jay was just like a bad smell that kind of wafted around.
Robbie was involved, which is never good.
I mean, I don't mind Robbie. I know, but I think when Robbie is involved,
sorry, this podcast is over.
Robbie wasn't that bad this week.
No,
but I would like to see.
He could have stood up for Bex a bit more though when Martin called her a slag.
Oh God, well,
he really did.
Horrible. He did say that Martin was out of order when he said it, and so he was right, and he was right to say that. I mean, it was nice to see again a dynamic where there was like a lads' night out, like Jay, Robbie, and
just not as cool as the other lads.
I mean, his school pals were far cooler. Let's be honest with you,
and richer.
Kush was missing as well, and we presumed he might have been working on the door of E20, but no.
That would have been interesting if he was the bouncer and he had to escort Martin out because he was being rude to his daughter as well. That could have been a bit interesting rather than a random bouncer.
Yeah, he could have been. You could have done that. Oh, you're out of order, Martin.
Yeah.
Because Denise was out that night as well, so he had no reason to stay at home.
Exactly.
Anyway, what did the Twitter sphere?
We've got a few comments about Martin. We have Luke Elkins who says, "I hope they aren't going to make Martin have an affair with Ruby," which a lot of people think they're hinting towards that with their chats and their smiles and how Ruby wants someone. She wants a Martin Fowler in her life.
Yeah, no, we'll see about that, but I don't think they will.
I'm hoping she just leaves and Kate Oakes gets rid of her.
Wow. Okay.
I'm sorry, Louisa. She's been good at acting. I just don't like the character. She's not welcome. She's not needed in the square.
Yeah. Again, we have said this before. Like her first week was good. The actual week where because we were all really surprised by it, but it's just kind of. And this is the problem with EastEnders at the moment. It's just kind of fluttered about since. Yeah. There's been no solid story continuation.
We got tour ticket help.
Ooh.
They said, Martin, she's dressing like that because it's her body and her choice. If other people have a problem with it or can't control themselves when they see a pair of legs, then they are the problem.
Yeah, there you go.
Ticket tour's good. And then we've got Alex, who isn't you. They say, Martin is acting so over the top with Bex, the poor girl, and calling her a slag was rude. All capitals. Robbie or Bex should have slapped him. So there you go. Imagine Robbie slapping Martin. That's a story.
I love that Robbie wouldn't punch Martin. He'd slap Martin. Imagine Robbie slapping Martin. Yeah, so there we go. So that was that. And
that. And then there is this, which Halloween week, Billy has a predominant storyline.
Well, this was the most Halloween week themed Halloween story, let's be honest, because it was
apart from Hayley's pale face.
Yeah.
But we've had that for a year.
I was going to say that's nothing new. she's constant Halloween. And this is the party. This is becoming an annual event too.
Oh yeah.
The partying at Jack Branning's house, which he never is at. So he has these parties.
Oh yeah, Jack wasn't there, was he?
No, he wasn't.
Where was he?
Didn't say. They never said. Nor was Rainey.
Or Max.
Max was there. He was there at the beginning because they were playing Snakes and Ladders with Honey.
Yeah.
And
maybe Jack and Rainey having a secret thing.
Maybe.
In the car cabin place. Maximum Motors, I
ask you.
So we had lots of scenes with children actors, which is always fun.
Yes.
Janet's still my favourite.
I love Janet. Janet needs a one-hander.
A two-hander, Janet and Will.
Yes.
Talking about their mum and dad's breakup.
Will was pretty good too. I was a bit disappointed with new Ricky.
Oh no, he's only just... This is like his first big scene, so...
And Amy just did my head in, as always.
What do you mean to Amy? She's a future Mitchell. You have to be nice to
I
her.
want to make it clear that I've got nothing against the child, just the character.
Like me and Ruby.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah.
I prefer Amy to Ruby.
So Janet doesn't want to be at the Halloween party.
No, I don't know why. He was such a wuss.
Yeah, who'd have thought that being knocked down by a car the Halloween before would upset you so much? And
that line that Honey was like, "There's nothing to be worried about," and then she just leaves on her date, and it's like, "Honey, do you remember what happened last year? She got hit by a car."
Yeah. And then her dad slept with the woman who hit her. I mean, Billy, to his credit, did look after Janet very well. He looked after Janet.
Did he? Did he look after any of them well?
Well, he did, because he started off by getting Janet involved in a kind of a spooktacular prank on all the kids. So
Well, she was in a closet because she was scared, so he was trying to like coax her out, wasn't he?
No, that's
that
Amy.
I thought they were both in the closet.
No, they were in the closet jumping out on the children.
Right.
So Billy comes in during the thrilling game of Snakes and Ladders and says to Will, Janet just wants to show you something. And Will's like, oh, okay. And so he starts walking into the hallway, and Honey comes out and says, is everything okay? And Billy's like, yeah, everything's fine. Don't you worry about it. And so Will starts walking down the thing and says, oh, Janet wants to show you something in the cupboard. Now, first of all, that would ring alarm bells of suspicion in my head. I mean, Will's not thick. We saw that this week. Will was the one who orchestrated all the naughty going on. He made them watch the scary film. He made them play made them play silly games.
He's a model. He's a child model. He's not thick.
He's not thick. He really isn't.
No. I mean, can I just butt in and just say, when I was writing my notes for this storyline, I couldn't actually believe what I was writing as a storyline. Was Billy says there's no reason to be scared. They trick Amy and she hides in a cupboard. It's part of my notes.
Okay, so yeah, that happened a bit later. So so they jump out on Will.
That's an actual note from a storyline.
Well, they jump out on Will, and then they try the same trick with
Actually,
Amy.
listen to what we're talking about. It's just okay. Carry on.
No, go on. I'm trying to paint it up a little bit.
I know, but it's just an actual. When you say it out loud, it's awful. The kids are hiding in a cupboard, and Billy's trying to convince someone to come out of a cupboard. I just can't.
Oh, I know. I'm just trying to flank it out, though. I'm just trying to make it.
Amy double crosses him in a smart move.
Yes, she does. So Billy scares Amy so much that Amy hides herself in the cupboard.
And
Billy...
I hear a BAFTA.
Billy, I don't know what Billy does at this point.
Billy hits his tooth because he's scared of Amy.
Amy pretends to leave the cupboard.
That's what I mean, yes.
And then, so Amy's now doing the same trick to Billy. Billy's fooled by this. And so he goes back into the hallway and thinks that Amy's, like, cut herself or something, because there's, like, lots of fake blood on the ground.
something happens, and the kids are watching, like, a film they're not meant to. So
Night
he
of the
goes
Living
in
Dead.
to see them,
Great
and that's
film.
when Amy comes out of the cupboard and then pretends she's still in there, and he goes in and she goes boo, and he hits his chin on something.
Yeah.
And that was her like big revenge.
But you don't see. I'm presuming that the scene of him actually hitting his face was so bad that they just decided to cut it out.
So yeah. So he's hurt his tooth.
So he's hurt his tooth, and the remedy for such a thing is codeine and whiskey. So he's popping the pills and drinking the alcohol just to soothe his toothache that he now has.
Even though he's in charge of looking after lots of children who last year all escaped under Ingrid's watch.
Ingrid, who would never drink.
No.
She's whiter than white.
And they still escaped under her watch. So Billy
and
should be more careful.
Yes.
I mean, the party's boring. So he thinks, how do I make it exciting? He says, I've got a game that no one's ever heard of called apple bobbing.
Yeah, the kids didn't know what
and the
apple
kids
bobbing
are like,
were.
I've never heard of that. It's like, I refuse to believe none of them have heard it. I'm sure Ingrid played it last year.
They must have played apple bobbing at some point in their
ridiculous.
lives.
But that was his big idea, to liven up the party, because Janet's like asleep with a pillow. She's fast asleep like, no, Dad.
Well, Janet basically speaks for the whole nation, and when she says that she's bored of this madness and just asks when Mum is coming home. She's like, when's Mum coming home?
I know.
This is just
Where's
insane.
Mum's cool new boyfriend coming home?
Yeah, when's the dentist coming?
He would like him. It says something when someone prefers the dentist over their own dad.
That's true.
So they're all apple bobbing, and it's Billy's turn. He's taken his pills and his whiskey.
He's had about 4 pills that we've witnessed by this point, and he's drunk about half a bottle of whiskey, and he doesn't even care anymore. He's now drinking the whiskey in front of the children.
And so he gets his apple, and his tooth falls out, and Will goes, "That's cool."
Yeah,
he thinks it's a Halloween trick. At the same time, Honey and Adam come back from their date.
Yeah,
which I'm assuming they had a lovely time.
Well, they were none the wiser. Although, again, Honey sent Honey sent Billy a text on his phone, and the text was about the size of the screen. So I don't know if Billy's got a problem
all capitals.
And all capitals. Oh, okay! Yeah, I don't know if Billy's got a problem with his eyesight or something. No wonder he whacked his head into a wall. He probably thought it was the door.
Billy, ever the nice man, he faints, and then Adam asks him if he's okay. You could have killed yourself because you mixed all these pills, but I can give you some free treatment and make it all better.
And Billy's like, no,
I need a charity case. And he's like, oh, fine, I'll charge you then. He's like, no.
Yeah.
So for God's sake, Billy.
Well, Billy's offended because he's been told in the past that he can't look after himself, let alone 4 children. And again, it's been proven that he can't. But it's going back to what Billy was doing for most of the night, and that is trying to scare children by, as you said, jumping out of a cupboard. I mean, at what point did he think, perhaps, because he tried to get Will to come out again. So he did it once. He said, oh, Will, and it worked. Will was, he said, I got you, didn't I? I got you. We got you, didn't we, Janet? And Janet was like, yeah. And then 10 minutes later, he's like, oh, Will, can you come back to the same cupboard, please? So we can jump out in front of you. And that's when Will says to Amy, oh, go humour him. Will's more mature than his father. Go humour him.
I want to know what the producers are playing at, because this was his 20th anniversary this week of being on EastEnders. And this is what they gave him.
That was his big storyline. He loses a tooth whilst being scared by a little girl.
Oh, yeah.
So there we go. So that was...
and they didn't even bother putting him in on Friday's episode, thank God, because there was just no more they could go with the cupboard.
You could carry on jumping out the cupboard.
Cupboard storyline.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, at least he had a nice story. At least he had a story during the week.
That's true.
What were other people's thoughts about the story?
Well, Stud Muffin says, oh, look, Billy is suffering from toothache. If only he had an ex-wife who is currently dating a dentist. It's like it writes itself. Hagrid says, Billy and Ian have regressed so much under John York, which I agree. We said that a few weeks ago. They've gone back into their 90s state and all their character development has just disappeared. And at BBC EastEnders said, today, the legend that is Perry Fenwick celebrates his 20th anniversary of being a Walford resident. Huge congratulations and thank you for giving us 20 years of Billy Mitchell.
Oh. Did they post some memorable clips of Billy Mitchell?
There is no memorable clips. 20 years he's been on the show.
Yeah, and that's his storyline this week. He loses a tooth.
Yeah.
Can we move on?
Please, because I'm suffering.
Okay. So, it is Halloween. So it's time for our feature of the week, which apparently, according to most people on Twitter, is the only part they're going to listen to. So
it's good
to enjoy. Yes, it's that time of the week where we're having another look at the Halloweens of the past.
Ooh.
A recent theme in the soap's history when a week of spooky going-ons normally climax to a big storyline at the end of the week. With Halloween behind us, though, and Christmas just ahead of us, the big season coming, what better way to celebrate than visiting our EastEnders merch store at shop.spreadshirt.co.uk/EastEnders Weekly podcast, where you'll find an exclusive design drawn for us of the Queen Vic bust on clothing, bags, pillows, and a lot more.
It's even got her double chin in it and everything.
It just looks so sexy. For a limited time, if you use the code EARLY18, that's EARLY18 at the checkout, you'll get an 18% discount on your order. So no better time. That's right, no better time.
I highly suggest getting the pillow. Or the apron.
I like the phone case personally.
Oh yeah, the phone case is cool too.
Yeah, very cool. So there's no better time to visit shop.spreadshirt.co.uk/EastEnders Weekly podcast to help us continue to make this show the best it can be for all of you. Or not, we're just glad that you're enjoying the show.
Ooh. It's Halloween.
I know. I'm enjoying it. The white sheet and the blackout eyes is a bit too much though, Ben. Maybe take that off for now.
I can't wait to go apple bobbing later.
Nor can I. So we're returning to this week's feature, A Brief History in Walford, and we have been talking about Halloween week. We will be talking about Halloween week on the square and what the residents get up to on the spookiest night of the year. I mean, this is quite a recent phenomenon that they're doing a themed week every year.
Like a big storyline for Halloween.
Yeah, and it's normally ghostly or kind of spirit related, like something spooky is happening on the square and is kind of linked to it. Maybe not so much this year, but in previous years they've done very much. They've kind of used the whole theme of Halloween.
It's very like hit and miss throughout the years. Like every other year's good.
Yes, that's a fair point. That's a good pun.
But yeah, I mean, it's because it's more popular in England now, so Halloween.
I mean, we've had a lot of trick-or-treaters this year, didn't we? A lot more than we normally have. So that was fun.
Not happy. Taking all the chocolate.
I know, you wanted it for yourself. I know, sadly. So in 2017, then, what was a standout moment that happened on Halloween week?
Well, if you cast your minds back to 2017, in real life, there was that weird thing where people were dressing up as clowns and like standing on streets.
That's right.
Do you remember that?
True.
And everyone was getting scared.
Yeah.
And Tina had something similar happen to her on her way to get some cheap booze for the pub.
Life imitating art.
That was quite good. I remember that though, and they like all ganged up on her, and she like fought them all off as well. And she escaped.
She did. Well, she kind of did the old, what's that? And then quickly got in the car and started the engine and knocked one over.
Yeah. So good for Tina. She got away.
I mean, it was good for Tina, but then it kind of went a bit bittersweet at the end because at the same time as she is at the cash and carry having her alcohol and wallet stolen from her, Ingrid and Jack decide to host a ghost costume party.
I remember this.
Where all the kids were invited to Jack's house for such festivities as hide and seek and putting your hand in a bowl of spaghetti hoops.
Well, Ingrid's been sorely missed this year because Billy's done a real bad job. So looking back...
Of Billy's Halloween party?
Yeah, looking back, Ingrid's Halloween party is really good, actually.
I mean, yes.
She had like double the amount of kids to look after.
She had a lot more kids to look after. She involved everyone as well. She got Janet to stand at the door to hand out sweets on the bribe of that every sweet she gives, she can have one for herself, which Janet was very pleased about.
It seems to be like an ongoing thing as well, like on the square. Like a group of characters all have the same costume all the time.
Well, it then makes a storyline.
So you don't know who's doing who or whatever.
Because they're playing, as I said, aforementioned, they play a game of hide and seek, and Janet decides that the best place to hide wouldn't be in the house, but somewhere
in
outside.
the middle of the road.
Yeah. Well, I think it was behind a car or something. Yeah. And Tina's not looking where she's going because she's so panicked and she's texting.
Sweating at the forehead.
Sweating, yeah. Beads of sweat pouring down her head. A bit like Thunderbird puppets when they used to put the synthetic sweat on their heads. And she gets a bang. And she knows she's hit something, but she doesn't know what or who she's hit. And Shirley kind of reassures her and says, it's a cat. It's probably nothing. Which, a cat is not nothing, Shirley. Let's make this clear immediately. Cat's quite important.
It turns out that she hit Jan, and that obviously starts off the big storyline of Billy's affair with her and
it's not even an affair, is it?
Honey and him breaking up. So
yeah.
It had quite repercussions for a whole year it's been going on.
Well, the repercussions are still happening now because Honey won't forgive Billy for it wasn't an affair. He just slept with Tina because they both felt really upset by the whole situation of Janet being in hospital.
Just ridiculous.
It was a bit silly.
Special mention to our favourite Abby as well. She's gone full on crazy this Halloween.
She did. She really did. It was a bit Brideshead revisited. She decided to put on her sister's wedding dress that she was meant to be wearing for her wedding to Stephen.
And she like dances around with like a cardboard cutout, doesn't she?
Yeah, it's not even just a cardboard cutout of Stephen. It's just a cardboard cutout of a general person. Yeah, so she's proper screwed. Looseness is 100% up to volume 11, I think.
And this was also the big year where Sean O'Connor was introducing like the Grange Hill storyline, where it was all the kids at school and stuff. And they were having like a house party. Bex and Louise and Shaquille, R.I.P.
Yes, well, this is quite telling because when Shaquille, throughout the whole episode, is desperately trying to get Beck's affection, and Bex is just pushing him away all the time. I mean, this is why the storyline now where Beck seems to just be devastated every time at the sight
like
or
her
the
first
thought.
love.
Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense at all, really, when you think about the fact that she just used to dismiss Shaquille up until a week before he was stabbed. And then suddenly she decided that she loved him.
She was in love with Mr. Price.
Yes, who was dating Sonia, her mum, at the time, and was also Beck's teacher.
Yes. So and she helped bandage him up after the bus crash.
Yes.
And that's when they first kissed.
Yes, see, that was a bit weird and awkward as well, wasn't it?
It was all awkward.
Unfortunately, it was another one of those, like this next storyline, which was basically when Sean O'Connor left, so did the storyline. So, unfortunately, the fancying your teacher storyline just ended one day.
I know.
But then there's also the Michelle Stalker storyline. So by this point, it had been going
also
on.
known as Bleeding Nose Man.
Tom was stalking Michelle on the tube for a long time, and they did start dating, but Michelle decided that Tom wasn't really her cup of tea.
And he didn't accept being dumped and stuff.
No, and we then, I think by this point, we'd also learned that he was married and he was a bit nutty. So, but yeah, this was when the storyline of Tom stalking Michelle continued. But as we know, and we've mentioned on the podcast before, it kind of came to a head when...
I know, it's a bit of a shame. Yeah.
And it wasn't actually a bad episode. When we rewatched the Halloween episode, I thought
it's not
a bad episode at all. Maybe perhaps we were too quick to judge Sean O'Connor.
Wouldn't go that far.
So
and also another forgotten storyline was Louise's burns, and she's like shy about showing her chest.
Oh yes, and also Keegan fancying Louise.
Oh yeah,
another thing that's
even though he tormented her.
Yeah,
really weird. Didn't make sense either. Nothing really made sense.
Not really, I suppose.
But
not.
Good intentions.
Good intentions. Well, the thing is that we knew about Sean O'Connor was that he was a very slow burner. So obviously these were meant to cultivate into something a bit better. But
I mean, if we go back another year to 2016, this is Sean O'Connor as well, and this is like his real slow bits, I think.
I mean, this was painfully slow, wasn't it? I mean, I did enjoy that every time there was a scene with a character which was going to have a hard time or have a bit of bad luck in this episode, Dave the cat would run past them.
Oh, would he?
So he ran past Dot, Patrick, Claudette, and it was obviously a symbolism.
Black cat thing.
Yeah, bad luck that Dave the cat was possessing at the time of Halloween.
I mean, for a Halloween episode, it has Patrick and Dot as like a major storyline. So you know it's going to be a bit dull. Because I hated 2016 Dot. She was so annoying.
She was a bit woe is me, wasn't she? Not in the same way that it was comical. It was just annoying. Depressing, wasn't it?
She was always ill, and this is when she was having her it was detached retina, I think.
No, it was cataract.
Oh, was it?
She just had cataract, which is a very common...
Another story thing that's just disappeared because she was like going blind.
Well, yeah, I'm presuming that off air, or maybe she did it in Ireland. She had her lenses replaced.
Yeah, maybe.
That's all they do. They just swap your lenses over.
Because they were writing it in because June Brown said she was losing her sight, I think, originally. But
really?
Then I don't really know what happened with that because they've not mentioned it since. So that's weird.
I don't know.
And we have like the Claudette like flirting with Patrick, but thinking he fancies Dot, but doesn't fancy her anymore, and she's a bit jealous.
Yeah, Claudette also accuses Patrick of seeing Dot behind her back, and she does later apologise for that. But, you know, as soon as she apologised for it, Patrick kind of gets up and says, right, I'm off to see Dot now. And you kind of thought, well, Patrick,
I know.
Calm down here. Claudette's just showed some insecurities about your relationship with Dot, and how do you repay her for being honest with you? Oh, I'm off to see Dot now. But yes, we learn that Dot is afraid of going outside and leaving the house because she thinks that she's going blind.
She was really annoying because all that year when Sean O'Connor was in charge, all the characters kept going, oh, we better check on Dot. I have to make sure Dot's okay. And it's like... It was so annoying. It was just, she had lots of illnesses that year, and she fell over a cat and stuff. And
that was when she fell over Dave the cat, which was funny. I loved that episode when she made the cake and she fell over Dave the cat. That was a fun episode. It wasn't, again, I don't think it was meant to be funny.
No.
But I enjoyed it.
The other one was Phil is bright yellow.
He is. He's waiting for his liver transplant.
He is. Gonna die. And got a few months left. Well, no chance.
No chance at all. But apart from Ben, who Ben has agreed to give him a part of his liver. So this generous act is felt to by Sharon that it should be rewarded. But then when she walks into the ward, she sees that Phil is changing his will with
Richie.
With Richie, yes. And basically he's rewritten the will by giving Sharon, Dennis and Ben hardly anything at all, very little, and bulk of the money is going to Louise. And Sharon believes that he's doing this to basically build and continue to build the Mitchell legacy, because Sharon can't give him any more children for reasons. Dennis isn't a true Mitchell, and Ben, being gay, also cannot give him children. No, doesn't want. Ben can't have children because he's gay.
So 2016 was kind of a miss, I feel, and 2017 was like a hit, and then 2018 is a miss.
Yeah, I mean, the one last thing we should mention about 2016 and 2017 is that on both years, the Vic have the storyline where they don't have enough alcohol in order to hold a Halloween party.
I know, it's the same storyline.
They did the exact
every
same
time.
storyline, 2016,
Yeah.
2017.
Yeah.
So in 2016, they decide to have a happy hour.
So we have an hour special in 2015. They mean business.
Yeah. It was a good year. It was a very good year.
It was fun.
Lots and lots of things happened. Obviously, the Vic has another Halloween party, and Aunt Babe and Linda's mum Elaine are in competition to see who can look the most convincing as Lily Monster after Linda decides she doesn't want to dress up this year. But Linda's got a good reason why she doesn't want to dress up. Would you like to know what that reason is?
Yeah, hit me.
She got raped.
Oh, it's that year.
She got raped.
Yes.
And Ronnie basically talks to Mick this year because she wants to protect Roxy from Dean, because this is when Roxy is dating Dean, and Dean is basically telling her lies.
Roxy and Ronnie, God.
I know, we really
Didn't
are.
think we better talk about them again.
Skipping back in time.
And obviously, the hour special, we've got Stacey, who is being, she thinks she's being stalked or followed by this weird guy who's, following her and looking at her a lot, and she's not sure who he is and stuff.
I mean, he's not even making an effort to, hide. They just look directly at each other. And she doesn't go over to him and say, this is really unlike Stacey. This is a really strange Stacey.
This is when they were changing her a bit to be a bit more,
motherly
and softer, yeah.
Yeah.
She wasn't going, oi, who are you? What are you staring at?
Exactly.
And hit him at the same time.
Which is what we want from Stacey, really.
That's what she'd do nowadays. So yeah, that was obviously Kyle, who was her
brother.
Originally, but he's transgender, and that's why none of them believe him that he is related and stuff.
Yes,
and he has the key.
He has the key, which is obviously in a previous episode.
Secret.
The key unlocks a secret in the Slater family. But that doesn't happen at Halloween, so there's no point talking about it.
No. And we also have Kathy's storyline. Kathy has a storyline. 2015.
I know. But this is when
that was
she
her
came
last
in.
storyline.
This is when she was first brought in, I guess.
Yeah,
as
it
a
was. It was
full-time
her
cast
return,
member,
yeah. And obviously Gavin is out to get revenge because he's the one who forced her to fake her death and run away from her and leave her children. And she's back, and Gavin is not happy.
Well, Gavin has already been told to go by Ben already by this point, and she has a panic button, and so does Phil.
Phil has a panic button. He's like Dithery, isn't he?
Well, he's got a broken leg and a broken arm. To be fair, we decided when we were researching this, we decided to just watch the Halloween episode, and so there's a bit of background information than we know for ourselves, but we couldn't for the life of us remember why.
He must have gotten some weird fight.
Maybe with Gavin, I guess, or something.
Maybe to make Gavin look like scary
in
his old age.
But Phil doesn't like it very much because Ben basically wards off Gavin, and it's not Phil that does it. So he spends the whole episode with a sore head because everyone's rewarding Ben for having sorted out the situation. Ben is going to the Vic for the party with Abby, and Abby is insistent that they have to dress as, or he has to dress as Edward from Twilight. But he's pretty miffed that he's having to do this, and so just leaves the party, leaves Abby on her own, and goes to see his mum Kathy, who's panicking by this point.
Because someone's standing in front of her with a lighter lit.
Yes.
And a firework in the other hand.
Well, it's almost like a cartoon, because she's on a chair and all these fireworks are surrounding her, ready to go off.
It was, I mean, it's a good episode, but the end bit with Gavin is a little bit like cheese fest.
Well, before we jump onto that, there's also hints at this point that Bobby is a little bit of someone who you shouldn't really mess with. Bobby Bill, because he has a line where he says to Kathy that if anyone hurts you, they'll have me to deal with. And I know. So it's just showing it. There's a dark side to Bobby, and I don't know if this is before or after Bobby's hit.
Before.
This is before Jane gets hit round the head by a hockey stick, because there's still a secret in the Bill family, but we'll get to that in the previous year. But yes, go on then. Reveal the secret in the Sharon, in the Mitchell household, in the Watts.
Well,
family.
this is the worst thing, because this is where he's rewritten history with the Hello Princess.
The producer has.
Yeah. And that didn't go down well with me.
Well, basically, Gavin indicates that he was not a very maternal person. It takes someone who has a certain type of person who would want to have children and look after them. And then he just looks Sharon directly in the eye, and she kind of looks at him, and she's kind of working something out. And then he looks at her and goes, "Hello, princess." And so it's revealed that Gavin is Sharon's real dad.
Yes. And a few bits later, he's like, "Oh, it's something weird." Like he told Den that every time I'm thinking of you to say hello, princess, and it means it's from me. And this is like, oh no.
Yeah, I know.
Erase that from history. That's horrible. Can't take that away from Den.
No. Honourable mention of 2015 also is when Bex was introduced and she was in her goth phase.
Oh, was that when she was a goth?
She was a goth.
Before she was a full-time character.
And Martin and Stacey keep asking her if that's her costume. And she's like, no, this is who I am.
Now she's a hippie.
She's not a hippie, she's kind of folky, isn't she? But yes, so there was a big year, 2015.
Yeah, it was good.
There were highs, there were lows. I mean, I enjoyed watching the Gavin scenes. And it was a heck of a lot better than the hotel, running around the hotel Scooby-Doo style with Gavin later in the year with Sharon and Kathy. So Gavin's demise. So anyway, 2014, and this was a big year in EastEnders history because this was the year where they were right slap bang in the middle of the Who Killed Lucy Bill story arc. So it had everything ready, set up to be very haunting and very scary.
It does. This was the new producer's first year, setting up his big Who Killed Lucy storyline things. But yeah, good year. Lauren was being stalked by someone who she didn't know, was taunting her.
Yes, wearing a black cloak and a weeping angel mask from Doctor Who.
Yes.
I did enjoy that reference.
And she finally confronts her and chases her and finds out that's her sister, Abby.
It was Abby all along.
Of course. And they have like a fight in the house and it's quite fun. And Abby like tries to drown Lauren.
Yeah, in the bowl of apples when she's... Yes.
And she contemplates it, like killing Lauren, but then she's like, no, I better let you out now.
I mean, this goes...
to show you how mad I am.
This goes back to something we said a long time back when they killed off Abby, when we kind of started the podcast, and we have said, and I think it's on a YouTube video as well, that Abby could have been such a good evil character.
Waste.
And they wasted it because even as back in 2014, she was only cusp away from killing her own sister.
They could, instead of killing her, they should have just retired her for a year and a half or something and then brought her back and it would have been amazing. So I'll never forgive John York for this.
Well, for killing Abby? No.
Never. Or Stephen.
I don't. Again, I like
too many legacy characters. You don't kill legacy characters.
No, it's a very dangerous game to play. But again, I think John York wanted to kind of, bring her back a bang after such a slow 2 years.
We just wanted a bigger budget for the Slaters. That's all we wanted.
Yeah, you just wanted to bring the Slaters back. I mean, it wasn't just Lauren and Abby storyline. There was quite a big storyline with Dot too. Because she thought she'd seen the ghost of her son.
She has.
Because she was led to believe by her grandson.
Yep, Charlie, that his dad Nick had died, but she kept seeing Nick in the window. Yeah, no one believed her. Everyone was just saying, "You're being silly, Dot."
I mean,
lock the door and shut up.
Yeah, I know.
This is before everyone was all caring and lovey-dovey.
2 years later, they're all going to her house seeing if she's blind yet. Ian and Sharon go see her, and they both say, sometimes I see, or Sharon says, sometimes I see Dennis, and Ian says, sometimes I still see Lucy. It's just in your imagination.
I still see Kathy.
Yes. Well, yes, this is before Kathy's back as well. The live episode hasn't happened yet. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I forgot about that. So, maybe this was a little wink by the producer to say, well, Nick's not dead, so Kathy's not dead.
No. But he does turn out to be alive because he appears behind her. And she sort of says, I know you're there, Nick. And he lights a cigarette for her.
Yeah, and he
hello,
does.
Ma.
And he does the famous catchphrase, "Hello, Ma."
Yeah.
Because Charlie admits that he's been lying to Dot, and I think he did it for good intentions because he knew that Dot had basically bailed Nick out on numerous occasions, and he didn't want his mum to be hurt any further.
No,
because he'd gained quite a good relationship with Charlie by this point, Dot and Charlie. So it was.
I didn't want him ruining it he ruins everything, but he did.
But he did ultimately. But again, didn't happen at Halloween, so we can't talk about it.
No. And the last sort of Halloween, this was like the first time a big Halloween episode was 2013, and before that it wasn't really a thing.
They didn't really do
they make a deal about it.
They didn't make a deal about it. They didn't make it haunted or spooky like they do now.
And even this one wasn't really Halloweeny. But like the main story was where Michael is planning to kill Janine and run away.
This is Michael Moon,
yes,
who is the brother of Alfie Moon.
Yes.
He's a bit of a tearaway, Michael Moon, isn't he? He kind of is a bit of a
he's
dodgy
like a businessman, like a Steve Owen type-ish.
Yeah.
But he's planning to kill Janine on Halloween.
Not Janine.
No. So Alice Branning is there to sort of help because I think they're going to elope and run away together. I'm not 100% sure.
But with
Michael.
With Michael.
So he starts to strangle Janine in front of her, and she tries to stop him, and she grabs a knife and stabs him. And the police are on their way already, so I'm assuming something has happened before, because we can't get the full clips of 2013.
I know, this is the one episode we just couldn't get the full episode.
So but yeah, I mean, Alice goes to the door because the police are like, "What's happening in here?" And she's telling them that someone's been stabbed, and Michael wakes up and tries to get Janine, so she stabs him again. She gets the knife, wipes it all down, holds it with a kitchen towel so there's no fingerprints, and finishes him off and blames it on Alice.
So Janine deliberately killed him, so it wasn't accidental death at all.
No, not from Janine.
Janine.
She's there to take him out.
I mean, I do love the character of Janine, as
the
we
widow.
All know. And she's had a few dodgy moments, but I mean, to deliberately kill someone, that changes the character.
Well, it's her or him. She's already done it to Barry, hasn't she?
Well, yeah, but that's true. She killed Barry. I always forget that she killed Barry. But she always says that she kind of did it. It wasn't as purposeful as a lot of people think it was.
But I rewatched the Barry thing after I saw that. And Barry falls. He does fall. She doesn't necessarily push him purposely. But she goes down to see him, and he's still alive. And he says, "Help me." And she just sits on a rock and watches him die.
Oh, okay.
So
there's purposeful death
But
there.
yeah, that was the one before the new producer came in. So yeah, very exciting.
Very exciting story. I mean, at that time of the early 2010s, I mean, that was a lot of people see as a kind of a peak in EastEnders time. It's seen as quite a good time of EastEnders. And it's kind of, to some people's opinion, it's kind of gone down from there. But I tell you where EastEnders had a huge peak, though, and that was right at the very beginning. Because in 1985, they did actually do a Halloween storyline on the Halloween episode of EastEnders. You know, and it's, to be fair, a much more toned down storyline.
It's really fun, though.
It's a lovely time, isn't it? All the Bills and Punk
Don't they
Mary.
invite like everyone round?
Well, it's Ian, Pete, Pauline, Arthur, Lou, Ethel, who's dressed as a witch for the occasion. But they are raising money. Well, they're raising money for the fireworks display. So Ethel's going around doing trick or treating with Lofty, trying to make a bit of money for the fireworks. And Punk Mary's there, obviously with Baby Abby. She needs the money. So they basically play a bit of apple bobbing, and Peter Beale, being Peter Beale, decides to make a complete mess of the whole situation. And then with the water in the bowl, they all light a candle each, and they do a bit of white magic, a bit of where they all light a candle, and whoever's candle goes out last gets their wish come true. And it's really nice, actually, as you say.
It's fun, yeah. It's just nice, gentle, and happy occasion.
Not over the top, no screaming,
no murders,
no going into a drug den screaming, "Help me!" Just happy sitting around a bowl watching candles burn out. So they even did it back in 1985. But then after that, it was kind of, as you said, there was no
it kind of fizzled.
Yeah, there was no real actual theme to it.
Probably because it never landed on it was only on twice a week, so it never probably really landed on Halloween or near Halloween ever. But yeah, there's our trip down memory lane, recapping all the past Halloweens.
Yes, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If there's any moments from Halloween that you remember from EastEnders, do send us a tweet at EastEnders Week, or go to our email address, which is eastendersweekly@gmail.com. And that was a little brief history in Walford.
Ooh.
Boo. I got you. I got you, didn't I? I got you.
That was nice.
That was lovely. Looking back, it made everything feel a bit better. I must make it clear
it makes this week feel worse.
Very true. That's what I was going to say. I must make it clear that when I said that people were only listening to that part, isn't because the rest of the show isn't great. It's just because people watched this week's EastEnders, and so they aren't too keen about having to relive it.
No.
Again.
I mean, we've been waiting months and months and months for this storyline with Hayley. Building up. We were all excited. Big reveals. And it still let me down.
And we were, even though the trailer, I remember the trailer came out and I said, oh, so they're going to have Hayley give birth on her own, are they? I did think, well, but it would still be okay. I'm sure this will be a good story.
I mean, Tuesday's episode was one of the worst episodes of EastEnders that I've watched recently.
I just couldn't believe what I was watching. Tuesday was just... I don't know. I can't put my finger exactly on what was bad. Well, let's try.
Hayley's monologues. But we'll get there first.
I mean, if you re-listen to the monologues, I was saying this earlier, they do make some sense.
No, I don't want to listen to
Okay.
I don't want to re-listen.
Well, Monday's episode started quite strong, and that is that Hayley... Hayley was to get the baby out. She basically, her plan is she needs to get the baby out as quick as she can.
She wants to induce labour. somehow.
Much nicely put. And she wants to basically do it outside of Walford, so there's no trace of her, and she can just then go and do what she wants to do, I guess.
So she eats hot curry from Miriam.
Yes, Miriam makes her a really hot curry, and then she gives her a massage on the sofa.
A bit weird. I thought that was a bit odd. But yeah, I mean, these are all like old wives' tales, aren't they, of how to
But she Googled it, didn't she?
bring on labour. But like a lot of people say all these things.
Yeah. She went for a walk around the square. This is when
She
Karen gave her some sage advice.
Which is, it's all true.
Well, basically, Karen says that she's the living proof that her advice it works.
Yeah.
She's had 5 kids.
Yeah.
And she said that she used to drink. She used to drink the old...
oh, yeah, didn't do any of them harm.
Yeah, bit of iron, good for them.
Guinness.
And she smoked when she had Bernie, and she's the brightest one of the bunch. I mean, it was such an odd conversation.
It was.
Anyway.
I felt sorry for the actresses because they had to like film it while walking really fast as well. So I hope people knew it was like one take. Well, they didn't have to keep doing it.
The square isn't that large or long, is it, really? It's not that difficult. They were walking quite fast, I suppose. So.
I think Kate Jarvis she has really long legs, so she takes really big strides, and like Lorraine Stanley was trying to keep up. It was really funny.
She looked physically out of breath.
Yeah, like, for God's sake. Don't mess up your lines again.
Go home.
She suggests having sex can bring on labour.
And so she tells Keanu that she's collapsed in the street, gets Keanu to carry her home. And that was the first thing she says when she walks in the door. I need us to have sex, like now. And Keanu's taken quite aback by this.
Oh, this is so silly. I know Keanu's dumb.
Keanu's not dumb.
He's
sweet. He lives in a very naive world where...
He was surprised that a baby had 10 toes and 10 fingers.
That's true. That's true. That is very true.
But yeah, and the fact that he like contemplates it and actually says, okay.
He does it. No, yeah.
He doesn't do it, but he would have.
He would have. It takes a bit of convincing as well, though, to his credit.
Does he not think about poor Sharon? Although maybe because he's not with Sharon this week, he's pumped up.
Can I just say that when Ben said, did he not think about poor Sharon, he then put his finger to his eye and wiped away a small tear.
Not a tear. I got the sun right on my face while I'm filming this. I can't see anything, but it's fine. We don't need a visual because it's audio. But he says, "Oh, I've been running, so I'd feel happy if I had a shower." Even though Hayley probably hasn't showered in like 4 weeks.
Yes, and this is the first time Hayley also admits to Keanu that she needs to escape. The reason she wants to get rid of this baby is because she needs to escape all this madness of the Slater house. And prior to this, Miriam had told Hayley that it takes a village to look after a child. So again, Hayley's in this conflict where she doesn't really want the baby, but she feels as though she could look after the baby if she was given the right help. Again, it's just the continuation of what we've had for weeks now, and that's Hayley does want the baby. Hayley doesn't want the baby.
It's a bit too much.
Yeah, Hayley wants to get rid of the baby. Oh, and then Hayley wants to make sure that the baby's okay, but doesn't want to keep the baby when the baby's born. So Hayley's conflict in her head is just going all over the place, but ultimately her goal is that she wants to give birth to this thing inside of her that she...
Yeah, that's her first step of her plan.
So her plan doesn't go very well.
No, because he has his shower and he comes down, but like Kat and everyone like interrupts it, so it sort of spoils the mood, and she tells him not to bother. So then he goes to get dressed, and then her waters break everywhere. Yeah, and then instead of waiting for him to like help her, she just drives off in the cab.
I mean, okay, this is where, to a lot of people on social media and also ourselves, we were a bit like, well, why isn't Hayley just going to the hospital immediately, or phoning for an ambulance, or phoning for help?
To like a hospital outside of London.
This
or
is
something?
The thing. So if she calls for an ambulance, the ambulance will take her to the nearest hospital, and that's likely to stay. That's going to be like Walford. Yeah, exactly. And that isn't where Hayley wants to be. Hayley wants to be outside of Walford. So I think there's no trace. So if the Slaters, Kat and Jean notice that she's not there, there's no trace immediately of where she's gone. Because she also uses a fake name. She says her name is Hayley Taylor. So her plan is obviously to fool or masquerade as another person so she can get out and take the baby with her and ditch the baby.
I'm assuming. But yeah, she gets in the taxi cab. We have the ridiculous Ian Beale who thinks she's doing a fare for some reason. Even though he's never used her taxi before, he knows that she's not a taxi driver.
Or licensed or anything like that. He just pops in, doesn't he?
Yeah, and she actually like drives him around and then tells him to get off at the train station.
2 stops.
Yeah, it's only 2 stops on the tube. Get out!
Yeah, no! So this is where Hayley starts screaming at everything and anything that gets in her way.
There's traffic lights. She's doing like a 12-point turn, trying to turn around.
She drives when it's red, So when it turns green, she shouts at someone for beeping their horn to say move on. Then the light turn red, and then she starts to proceed round. Gets angry at the car, says, all right! Then does her, as you said, 12-point turn. Abandons the taxi by this point because her contractions are too close together to one another. And she does almost phone an ambulance. She gets to 9-9, but then stops. Phones Keanu, who doesn't answer his phone. Because at this point, Karen's questioning where he's been this whole time. Because Karen thinks that he's been sleeping with the
town bike.
Yeah, the trout down the end of the road.
But I mean, yeah, she phoned Keanu like 3 or 4 times because he had like 3 or 4 missed calls on his phone. Like, why didn't she just phone 999 again?
But then this is the thing: she stopped herself because she
stupid.
doesn't want to be in a hospital near Walford.
No, but it's just annoying. And like, she got out of the taxi but dropped her phone, and then she's like wandering around the corner, like near Argy Bargy. So it's not that far away.
This is the thing, and this is another bone of contention with a lot of viewers. This is that she was not even
10 foot,
10 foot, from her actual house. So why did she not just go back home again?
Or just go into the train station and just collapse on the floor there? There's loads of people.
Again, I don't. Oh, I know this. I know I'm making excuses for the soap here, but she doesn't. Her plan was she wasn't in a hospital.
Yeah, but she
Walford.
starts asking people for help around her, and they all just ignore her.
Well, no, that's true. But I think by this point she's panicking, and she's in so much pain because she is now giving birth that it became unfeasible for her to actually walk home.
But she walked to this crack den place.
Which she walked to George Street. I made a note to make sure that I knew that because Kat, as we said to each other, the Black Cab storyline paid off this week because Kat was able to describe in great detail exactly where they were. So they were.
Is that the end of that storyline? Hope.
Yeah. So they were at the tube station, round the corner, turn right, down George Street. That's where she was.
Yeah, that's the quickest way. What are you talking about?
Yeah. What are you doing? And so she goes to a door, knocks on the door. They think that she's a trick or treater. Drops some sweets on the ground. She didn't take any. I thought that was rude. And then she walked to a crack den, which was just conveniently next door to this lovely house.
And the people just left her as well.
Yeah.
They're like, some crazy person's here.
But again,
she's below us.
yeah. This pregnant woman. The druggies might have had a bit of a bad hit, and they might have thought that she was like the devil in disguise or something like that.
This is the Tuesday episode where she's in the crack den on her own, like giving birth or in labour, and she's just doing loads of monologues about something.
Yeah, so
I
she's
stopped listening
talking
to them because there's just too many of them.
Well, I wrote them down because I knew this would come up. So Hayley talks gibberish to her own unborn child is what I've titled this little monologue that she did. So she talks about a time, and it was mentioned earlier in the week, where she broke her leg, and she's comparing the time when she broke her leg to the pain that she is in at the time of her labour.
Right.
And that when she broke her leg and she went to hospital, no one, not even her mother, was there for her. So again, comparing it to the time now that she's in labour, no one seems to care for her, and so that's why she's not letting people in her life. And then when she did eventually have her mum visit, her mum only visited her so that she could threaten the family of the daughter who broke her leg for money to then spend the money away from Hayley, again leaving her abandoned and on her own. So this is why
thing she did about the baby.
Yeah, so this is why we're now learning that Hayley's got trust issues. And this is
we already knew all this though. Like they didn't need these 4 long monologue scenes.
No, but she also this also leads to her basically wanting. She says in it she wants to give the baby the best gift she can. She wants to give her to decent people. So this is where ultimately, and she does say this has taken 9 months for me to discover this and work this out, but now I've worked it out. So she has basically shown her motives now. So this is that she doesn't want the child and she wants to give it up to adoption. Well, that would be the sensible route, give it up for adoption, but she's clearly not going to end up doing it that way, and give it to someone who can look after it, because she doesn't think she's got the strength to look after it. And at the same time, there's always going to be that cloud where she knows that, and Alfie knows that that's Alfie's baby, and Kat would never forgive her for such a sin. So there you go, all summed up in a nice little package. Meanwhile, though, Kat's sniffing water from the floor.
She is. She works out that Hayley's missing. Her waters are broke. Jean's drunk, so she can't help.
Yeah, I love Drunk Jean. Drunk Jean was just remarkable.
The cab key's gone, but they didn't notice the cab was gone walking into the house, which I thought was odd.
Yes.
But that's fine. There's a lot more odd things in this week that I don't need to bring that up.
I mean, maybe Kat was just too concerned about getting Jean home.
Maybe.
And rested to notice that the taxi cab was missing.
This is when Keanu comes in and says, look, I got missed calls from Hayley. She's not well. She's left me a voicemail. So they all go out looking, trying to find where she may be. And then Keanu comes across their cab with a bloody handprint on it.
Oh yeah, that was very Halloween, wasn't it? So there was this.
It was really bad as well. It looked like really fake.
I don't know how would blood set.
It looked too watery to me, personally.
But it might be mixed with water though. It was coming from her birth
and the rain
region.
Outside,
there was no rain, but like it was,
the damp air.
yeah, exactly.
And then they're all shouting, part of the trailer, the Hayley bit.
Yes. Tick.
And they hear a baby cry, which is good because Hayley's given birth, but it left it on Tuesday where I think Hayley thought the baby wasn't alive because it wasn't moving or crying, but the baby is crying now. So they find out where she is, and that's where they call the ambulance people over to help.
Yes.
And Keanu's trying to help, but he's useless.
Yeah, he's not being much use. He's just on the phone.
Doesn't know what placenta is.
No, that was an interesting thing. What's the placenta? Just open her legs and find out. Kat quite notably wasn't hiding the fact that she was angry at Hayley for doing this to the baby. And she actually says to Keanu, whatever happens tonight, it's Hayley, it's her fault. It's Hayley's fault. Once the ambulance crew, with the help from Kat's directions, does arrive, Hayley looks at Kat and actually apologises to her and says, "I'm sorry." Again, Kat does the sorry about this or something else.
Works something out. And she gets to the hospital and everything. Jean's sobered up at the hospital.
Jean wasn't that sober. Again, I have to say, this is what I have to give Gillian Wright props. She is, and I hate that she's not getting noticed. She is a great actress. A
lot of people saying that
actress.
At her stint this time, though.
She has been brilliant. She's
holding it together for her.
She is, metaphorically and also as the character. She's just been brilliant. She's been this great motherly character. She's been this great. She is almost the matriarch of the Slaters. You think that Kat is, but I don't think so. I think Jean is. Jean's the one keeping the Slaters glued and together. She's strong. You can see she's got this strong character, but
she's become quite wise as well.
She's
become all the experience she's been able to help and say the right things to everyone.
But it's just been
stay quite calm.
Yeah, and it's been portrayed by Gillian Wright so well. And the cherry on my Gillian Wright love fest cake is that she played the character of Jean perfectly this week as this drunk, concerned, and then got a bit drunk, but then was really concerned when she was just done so well. Yeah. And I props to her, and I really want her to be acknowledged for that. She's just great. Anyway, I love her.
I thought it was interesting when they had the baby and everyone was there that Big Mo sort of showed some sort of maternal instinct, which was out of nowhere.
No, I agree.
Holding the baby, smiling.
Yeah.
God,
and a calming influence on Kat as well. If you notice, she was the one who took Kat to one side and said, "Just
cut her some slack and stuff." Yeah,
cut her some slack. But although I couldn't take that again, I couldn't take the scene seriously because then Keanu came in with a helium balloon saying, "It's a girl." It's like, oh, for goodness sake!
Father of the year.
I'm sure
it does. I was saying to you when I saw them together, it reminds me of the Lofty and Michelle marriage thing with Keanu and Hayley. But yeah, he goes to visit her and she sort of pretends that it's all going to be okay and she's going to be in hospital for a week and stuff, but turns out Keanu falls asleep.
Yes. Well, she asks him to stay, doesn't she? Because she can't handle this is it. She doesn't want anyone getting too close, even when the nurse is trying to teach her how to breastfeed. She's deliberately not trying very hard. She doesn't want to get too close to the child, and she doesn't want to get anyone else's hopes and attachment to the child too close either. And as you say, Keanu falls asleep whilst on guard. The
IV drip is on the floor. Yeah. And she's making her way out, hobbling around. I mean, the baby would be in a special care unit because it's premature.
Well, they said that the baby had to stay in for a week. So
but the baby would be in a separate thing though. If they did their research.
Well, no, true. But then she could have walked in and just said, "Oh, can I hold her?"
Yeah, I guess.
And then kind of when the midwife's back was turned, she could have sneaked out.
So she was hobbling out and she's going with the baby.
Yeah, with all kinds of wires hanging out.
Did you see they focused on Kat looking at something through the hospital? I don't know if she saw someone or something.
Yeah,
or if Alfie was there. I was expecting a surprise Alfie or something.
Yeah, because she's looking through the blinds, and so I just presumed she was looking at Hayley in the bed and kind of disapprovingly giving her a look. So I was confused by that too. Perhaps
they sort of lingered on it for a bit, didn't they?
Well, perhaps Kat saw that Hayley had gone.
Oh yeah, maybe.
So Kat had seen it, but
maybe she was just staring at Keanu.
Who wouldn't? I certainly. I'd be taking photos of him while he's asleep.
You can't do that.
No, I can't.
It's grotty. Delete it. Delete that photo now.
9 out of 10. But Keanu also gives her some good advice, which she decides to ignore. Hayley some good advice that she decides to ignore, and that is that if you keep running away, people will stop looking for you. So again, that advice wasn't enough to keep Hayley stuck by.
Don't know what she's doing.
Well, the only thing I can say is I think that the most important thing to Hayley is the welfare of that baby, and she doesn't care what anyone else thinks. She just wants to make sure that baby is in the welfare system. She thinks it's
better off not with her.
Yeah. So
yeah, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what path
the baby.
what path she shall take to have that baby looked after.
Another female Slater on the square. Just what we needed.
Yeah, why not? We've got 18 years until that sprouts.
Yeah. Her and baby Abby will be best friends. So
that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
We have to remember this. 18 years' time. We have to see if they do a storyline with baby Slater and baby Abby. Lovely.
So we're going to pop off and play a game. Your turn this week.
Yes.
For a bit of trick or treat.
So time for another game, another delve into Martin's fruit and veg stall to find another 5 a day for Ben to answer when I give him a question and he has to find 5 alternative answers for the question.
That's what you think.
Why?
But I've got a trick or treat up my sleeve. A treat for me and a trick for you because I'm hijacking your game this week.
Oh, that's not fair because last week you gave me a horrible game to play and I was really looking forward to this. I was relishing it.
Well, I'm taking over Martin's stool. So we're playing Ben's 5 a day.
So you're like the shrimpy.
I am. I'm covering.
You're the
free.
You're the shrimpy of the podcast.
So let me just give you the rules. So I will ask you a question and you must list 5 answers that relate to my question. You must wait after every answer to discover if you are right or wrong, and you only have 30 seconds.
Well, see, I would have done that much better than what you just did there, so...
I don't care. I'll edit it and it will look good. So, lots of characters on EastEnders have beloved catchphrases in the show.
Right.
And I want you to name at least 5 EastEnders catchphrases used by characters. A catchphrase is a phrase or an expression recognised by its repeated recurrence in a show, said by the characters.
Okay, and this can be a character that's
Any
alive
character.
Or dead. Live or dead?
Yeah.
Oh, crazy. Okay, let's do this.
Wow. You'll be kicking yourself in a minute if you don't think of some, because it's one of those games.
Okay.
So are you ready?
30 seconds, yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Right, there's Ricky, which is Bianca Jackson.
Yeah, that's correct.
There's Get Out of My Pub, which is Peggy Mitchell.
Yep.
Peggy. There's I Don't Like Your Earrings, which was Roy, but that wasn't recurring. He only said it once, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Oh, goodness me. Now I can't think. I've gone a blank.
See, this is what happens to me.
Oh, my goodness.
You'll be kicking yourself.
Oh, goodness.
2, 1. Oh, dear.
That's so annoying. Hang on, now I'm not under pressure. Let me just see if I can...
Now you know why I stop on these games.
I must say, you're right. You're absolutely right. I really can't think of any more. I'm trying to think of an old one, like...
well, I've got one.
Oh, Ethel. Ethel goes, oh...
Oh, I say.
Oh, yeah, but that's Dot goes, oh,
yeah,
I say.
So Dot, all I say is one. This one where you'll kick yourself. Hello, Princess.
Oh,
Den.
I was thinking of one for Den or Angie.
Angie. She says, all right, darling.
Yeah.
We've got Pete Bill, who says, all right, Tweakle.
These impressions are uncanny.
We have Jean Slater, sausage surprise.
Oh, for goodness sake. Of course.
And you said Peggy Mitchell, Get Out of My Pub. And you said, Ricky. We got Nick Cotton, hello, Ma.
Hello, Ma, of course.
So, and I've also got one, which isn't really one. So it's like at the end, which I said, Cat/Zoe, you ain't my mother, yes I am.
Well, that's in the
it's
same...
not, yeah, it's not a catchphrase, but I just
it's
thought
very
that,
well known.
I put that on the end just as a little, but I think I got as many as I could think of. It's there's not an official list of catchphrases, you see.
Okay.
So if anyone knows any more that we've missed,
oh yeah, do tweet
send
us.
in.
Tweet us. Send it to @EastEndersWeek or email us at eastendersweekly@gmail.com. Because I'd be interested to know if there's any you've missed out there.
2. You got 2.
I know, I'm really disappointed in myself. What's Frank's Frank's with the one when he's got the spinning bow tie and he goes.
That's just a laugh, though, isn't it? Is that
be a catchphrase? I'm sure Frank's got a catchphrase though.
Stacey goes oi a lot.
Well, no, Stacey also goes. No, she makes that grunting. She goes that's it. She always goes That's Stacey's.
Well, there you go. And Ben's 5 a day. You only got 2 fruits out of 5.
Oh, you tricky trickster. Fooling me like that.
Didn't see that coming, did you?
No, I didn't. Right, we're going to move on then, shall we? Talk about Keegan and Carmel.
One of the more positive points this week. Although I don't think there is really enough storyline-wise.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I thought you meant like...
Not a positive storyline,
no.
but like the better storyline, but it was like not much of it.
No, and again, it is going on the whole tropes of like spookiness and like ghosts going around and watching someone from behind a wall and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
Because the poster's been graffitied like we presumed last week.
Yes, vandalised. And Carmel's had enough, really. Let's just be honest. She's had enough by this point.
Yeah, she wants to move to Dubai.
Yeah, to be with her sons. Who wouldn't, though, to be fair? Dubai is a nice, warm country.
Yeah, although she can't drink. And we know how she likes to drink.
I never thought about that. Yeah, Carmel, goodness.
That would be difficult. She'll have to go to all the hotels, won't she? So, yeah, and Keegan is trying to work out, like, trying to find who did this, because people have been making fun of Shaquille's death. So he sort of put it out on social media and, like, threatening the person, saying, meet me in person. I'll meet you outside.
Yeah, well, the guy...
Bad baby. Could you imagine if it was her? She made a cameo. So yeah, he's trying to find the person. The person like texts him and taunts him and stuff.
He sends a video, doesn't he, of him stood outside the door as Karen walks in.
Karen just looks at him and just carries on.
But yes, I did enjoy that the guy had his face covered over and he looked a bit like a video game character, I thought.
He looked like Stephen Beale. I thought Stephen Beale was back from the dead.
Yeah, well, no, that's true. We both said that, didn't we? We were both excited and shocked at the same time.
Yeah, so Keegan spends Halloween because Kush has given all the kids the same Halloween costume because he can't sell them. And Keegan spends like most of the week trying to work out. He's like in the playground and someone comes to see it and is meeting a girl. So it's like, oh, that's not him. And someone else comes and he keeps nearly going up to someone with a knife. Well, but it's not actually them.
Yeah, there's a lot of leading things. So, like on 2 or 3 occasions, basically, he'd be stood behind the wall and hear someone say, "Oh yeah, you're gonna get it," and then they'd hang
and
up.
It's Sharon and Keanu.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And he's basically talking about something completely off key. Yeah. So he's on edge this whole time, and he's going to be. You know that when this meet eventually happens, a mistake is going to happen because Keegan is so. On his nerves. And wound up. Yeah, and wound up.
And carrying a kitchen knife, which is never good.
Not good at all. Bernie wanted to swap bags with him, and he was like, no! Because he kept the knife in that bag.
And Denise and Carmel are in the Vic, having a quiet night, just chatting about their future. And
yes. I mean, I thought this was going to be not Carmel's final scene, but this was a nice kind of summing up and ending for Carmel, because they were kind of just sat down and they were talking about Shaquille, and just reminiscing about him. And she said she was a bit worried about Keegan, but but Denise reassures her, everything's going to be okay. And then Denise says, "It's never the place; it's the people you miss." And so I thought, this is a nice way of things ending.
It might be their last scene together because Carmel leaves next week, so she might have another scene with Denise and Kush, maybe.
Yeah, but I thought it was just a nice... Because Carmel, the character, had such a hard few months, it was just a nice ending for her then to leave. I would have liked it in a funny way. I would have liked him to said, like, Kush walking into the pub and say, like, "Oh, Mum, taxi's here. Should we go off to, should we go now?" And just ended it like that. And so I felt a bit like how the week's ended, it's kind of ruined, tarnished Carmel's ending a little bit. Yeah.
Because Keegan eventually meets the guy in the playground, the PG.
Yeah.
And he like whistles.
Oh yeah, he gets his gang.
And all the loads of people, 8 boys come out.
It was like West Side Story. If you've ever seen the musical West Side Story, they were a music track away from actually recreating the scene between the Jets and the Sharks.
It wasn't very gritty, was it? It was a bit rushed. Like they could have cut 2 monologues from Hayley and added a few more scenes to build this up a bit.
Yeah, shown that instead of just showing the fight in one go. But then maybe that was deliberate to show how quickly an accident and a mistake can occur.
So yeah, something happened. I mean, and we're led to assume that Keegan's knife went into the main boy
guy, yeah.
but by accident.
Well, we don't know if it was by accident.
Because Keegan said he was like pushed around and I think it went in, and then Keegan dropped his knife and ran off. But when he dropped it, it didn't look like there was any blood on it. But then Carmel is like watching in the shadow.
Carmel said that she saw it all happening, but all I remember is that she turned up later and saw the knife in the PG.
And the boy on the floor, and she went and like cried near him.
But no, you never saw the guy. You never saw the guy on the floor.
You did.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay. Sorry.
And she sort of knelt down beside him, and then she turns up at Keegan's house where he's got like a bloody top on.
Where he's put all of his clothes in a bin bag, and he's just about to leave. Yeah, because he's been basically cleaning his hands on his white t-shirt and his jacket, and she opens up the bag and she notices that he was wearing Shaquille's trainers that she bought for Shaquille, and there's blood on the trainers, and that's taken Carmel back about 6 months back to the night of the knife crime originally.
But it's all very strange how she's come over to his house, like, and she said, "Oh, this boy's dead," but like she's just left him. Has she phoned an ambulance? And then she says, "Oh, there's CCTV, so they know it's you, and you need to fess up to what you've done." And she's like brought the knife to like show him. It's like,
so surely the police would then come to her and ask, "Why did you move evidence?"
I'm guessing what I'm guessing is that she is lying, and she's pretending to Keegan that he's done this to make him like see what he could have done.
It's a hell of a horrible
That's what
lie.
I thought. It's a bit like,
again, it tarnishes Carmel.
I don't like it. Yeah, it's a bit of a, especially to like go along with it as well. Like at the end of the episode, she didn't come out with what she. So has Keegan murdered someone? But then that messes up Keegan's character for the future.
It's really messed Keegan, because
so he couldn't have, unless it turns out that the knife she's picked up with blood on is like one of their knives and it doesn't match Keegan's knife, and it turns out that someone else like it was his own knife and he got hit into himself maybe.
Yeah, they could have had the same knife. It's a huge coincidence,
but at the same time that means Carmel's like tampered with evidence.
Yes, no, yeah, well, exactly. Carmel should never have picked up that knife.
So I thought it was a bit odd, the fact that she's done this and like come to talk to him.
I mean, she's talked to him because she wants him to be responsible for what he's done. Because that was the one thing that Bruno...
But why bring the knife with her? Like, to show him, if it wasn't real?
To realise it, to make it more real for Keegan. Because
she's going to end up in prison in a minute.
Well, it's only moving a knife.
What, a murder weapon?
Well, no, yes, true. But she's off to Dubai, though. She's off to...
I don't know, it's... I don't know.
It is a bit strange.
It doesn't sit very well.
No, exactly. You're right. It doesn't sit very well. I mean, because it basically ruins Keegan as a character. That makes him
a murderer.
Makes him a murderer, even if he didn't. But to say he didn't purposely do it is wrong, because he did. Really, he went out his way to do it,
and he brought a knife with him. And it kind of undoes all the things they've been trying to educate people with. See,
this is where I get a bit sticky. They've been doing this whole thing as an educational thing to bring to realisation, to bring to the forefront that knife crime is becoming a real big problem in the UK. And despite your views of whether they portrayed it well or not, it's been done and it's been put in the the public consciousness. And now to do what they're doing now, especially if they're going to then say like, "Oh no, actually, Keegan, it wasn't you, and we're just trying to teach you a lesson."
Yeah, it's a bit like that's not the best way to teach.
No, that's not
a lesson. Good. They should, if they wanted to do this, they should have just had her carry on doing her like talks and stuff.
Which is exactly,
and they seem to have undone that as well.
They've done it. Yeah, exactly. They've done it so that she basically has lost faith in the system, and that's not going to portray very much to people, especially young kids who are watching it and thinking, well, obviously there is no reason to care. It's just what it is. Because that's another thing they keep hammering home. It's like, oh, this is the world now. Everyone carries knives. You have to carry a knife. Or if you don't carry, then someone who is carrying will get you. Which is always... It's the thing that a lot of people say about guns. It's like, well, if they've got a gun, then you need a gun. It's like, well, that's ridiculous. That's just stupid. You need to explain to people... Why can't you have conversations? Why can't you just talk to one another? Why can't the world just be this happy rainbow place?
It's... Yeah, it's tricky. Either way, if he did stab his boy and he's murdered him, it kind of ruins it. And if it is the other way and Carmel has pretended this has happened and she's telling Keegan he's murdered a boy, it still hasn't been handled well. Either way you look at it. So we will see what next week brings. Obviously, it's Carmel's last week next week, I think.
Well, I hope she has a happier ending. Like I say, I thought they ended
She has a black cab ending.
Oh, good. Julia's theme?
Don't know.
Oh, we'll soon find out.
There should be a Julia's theme, yeah. I feel.
I think
and it's being left open for her to return.
For all the stellar acting that she's done this year, I think
she's going to be really missed, and I think it's a shame she's leaving, but we'll talk about that next week.
Okay, fair enough. I tell you what, we will talk about this week, though, for the last couple of minutes before we end the show, and that is our poll of the week, which we post on Twitter every Monday when EastEnders is broadcast in the UK. And this week we basically had 4 pictures of 4...
Running with the
Halloween theme, that 4 characters in their Halloween get-up. And we asked you who wore it best, essentially. Who wore their Halloween gear the best. And if anyone had any other opinions, to let us know. Again, thanks so much for voting. We always appreciate it. If you want to go to our Twitter, you can see the pictures. But the descriptions we had was Frankenmix Monster, Cat the Bride of the Monster, Count Shirley, and Van Patrick.
Oh.
Reading them back now, I feel a bit ashamed of myself.
No, it's good.
Who do you think was the best? Who do you think everyone liked the very best?
We'll go with Bride of Cat Monster.
No, sadly not. You always get second. Second best. You're always second best, Ben. The winner was Count Shirley, who played Grandpa Monster, actually, if we were going to be correct. She was Grandpa Monster at 56%. Cat the Bride of Monster was 32%. Van Patrick was 11%. And no one voted for Frank and Mick. No one.
That shocks me.
Not one.
Mick Carter.
I know. Few tweets, though. At Diane Robertson says, Cat, been good this week. And also, we saw less boobage with this outfit.
I know. Halloween, and she puts them away.
I know. The one time she puts them away.
Martin would be proud.
He certainly would. He would. He really would. At Noel Derek Hillier says, Shirley by a mile. Winky face. I think Noel might have a bit of a crush on Shirley.
Lovely Shirley.
We all love Shirley.
She looks younger every day.
But anyway, thanks again for voting. We always appreciate when you join in with our little poll of the week. A new one will be up again, as I say, on Monday's episode of EastEnders. Follow us on Twitter at EastEnders Week. If you like pictures, then why don't you look at our Instagram page at EastEnders Weekly Podcast.
So visual. In an audio world.
The way it's going to be. It's the 80s. It's kicking and screaming into visual world. We're on Facebook groups and pages if you just search EastEnders Weekly Podcast, and you can email us eastendersweekly@gmail.com. As always, we love getting your messages and your comments, and we've been getting loads recently, and we really appreciate it, and we always try to reply to all of them, and we love it when you say hello to us. So that's another week all wrapped up.
It is.
Oh. Someone's at the door. I'll go down and find out who it is. Hang on.
Told you I didn't want it. I wish I was dead.
Oh God, it's